It was almost midnight when Daniel stepped onto the nearly empty train platform. The cold night air moved quietly through the station, and most of the lights had already been dimmed. Only a few passengers waited for the last train home. Daniel checked his phone. The next train would arrive in 3 minutes. A woman sat on a bench at the far end of the platform reading a book. A man stood near the ticket machine staring at the tracks. Everything felt normal, but something felt strange. Daniel noticed a small black suitcase sitting near the edge of the platform. No one was standing near it. At first, he ignored it, assuming someone had placed it there. But after a few moments, he realized something unsettling. The suitcase had been left completely alone. Daniel looked around again. The woman was still reading. The man by the ticket machine had not moved. "Excuse me," Daniel said carefully to the man, pointing toward the suitcase. "Is that yours?" The man looked up slowly. "No." Daniel turned toward the woman on the bench. "Is that suitcase yours?" She shook her head. Now the platform felt quieter than before. Daniel looked back at the suitcase. Why would someone leave a suitcase at a train station and just disappear? The loudspeaker crackled above them. "Last train arriving in 1 minute." Daniel felt uneasy. He walked a few steps closer to the suitcase, but stopped halfway. What if it belonged to someone who simply went to the restroom, or what if it didn't? His thoughts raced. The woman suddenly closed her book and looked at the suitcase too. "I noticed that earlier," she said softly. "No one has touched it for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. That was a long time." The train headlights appeared far down the tracks. The sound of metal wheels grew louder. Daniel felt a strange tension in the air. Just then, a man rushed down the stairs onto the platform. He looked nervous, breathing heavily. Daniel watched him closely. The man ran directly toward the suitcase. Daniel's heart began to race. But instead of picking it up, the man stopped beside it and looked around the platform quickly. His eyes moved from Daniel to the woman to the man by the ticket machine. Then he did something strange. He stepped away from the suitcase and walked quickly toward the arriving train. Daniel felt a sudden chill. Why would someone run to a suitcase and then leave it behind? The train screeched as it stopped. The doors opened. Passengers stepped inside. But Daniel did not move. Something about the suitcase felt wrong. The nervous man quickly boarded the train. The doors began to close. Then, suddenly, the woman on the bench stood up. "That's his suitcase," she said firmly. Daniel looked at her. "How do you know?" She pointed. "Look." Daniel turned. Through the train window, the nervous man was staring directly at the suitcase on the platform. Not at the passengers, not at the doors, only at the suitcase. The train doors shut. The train began to move. The man inside the train continued watching the suitcase until the train disappeared into the darkness. The platform was silent again. Daniel slowly walked toward the suitcase. The woman followed. The man by the ticket machine joined them. No one spoke. Daniel carefully reached down and opened the suitcase. Inside was nothing but clothes. Just shirts and a jacket. Daniel exhaled slowly. "Maybe we worried for nothing," he said. The woman looked closer. Then she lifted one shirt. Underneath the clothes was a small envelope. She opened it. Inside was a note. It said only 3 words. "Thank you for checking." The 3 strangers looked at each other in confusion. The man by the ticket machine suddenly laughed. So he wanted someone to open it. Daniel frowned. But why? The woman folded the note slowly. Maybe, she said quietly, he wanted to know if people still cared enough to question something strange. Daniel looked down at the suitcase again. In a world where most people ignore what they see, someone had left a test, and tonight, 3 strangers had passed it.